Sometimes these will not be corroded, the axle into the hub. If it is, you'll have to give it a little tap and it comes out easy, you're in luck. If not, it'll be rusted in. Today we will be replacing driver's side axle for this 2009 Toyota Matrix. Here we have the wheel already removed. You have your one lug nut to hold the rotor in place. We will be replacing, we'll be removing two 14mm bolts to remove the caliper, 22mm bolts here for these that hold the knuckle to the strut, a 10mm to remove the ABS wheel speed sensor, your 30mm 12-point axle nut. Once that comes out, everything will be moved out of the way, and then we'll be pulling the axle out with the slide hammer. Moving the caliper bolts. We'll use a caliper hanger. This is so that you do not stretch the brake line here. Hang it up into the spring, keep it out of its way. Okay, next we'll be removing the ABS sensor, 10mm. Instead of losing this, put it down and just hang that up out of the way. Next we will be removing the 22mm nuts and bolts. We need a 22mm wrench to hold this side. We'll be removing the axle nut. Sometimes these will not be corroded, the axle into the hub. If it is, you'll have to give it a little tap and it comes out easy, you're in luck. If not, it'll be rusted in and you will be having a torque trip. So with the strut bolts removed, your knuckle will slide forward. You'll release the axle and separate it from the hub. This notch right here where I'm pointing is where the slide hammer hook will be pulling out the axle. Alright, we're going to be removing this shield here just to get some more room to get to the axle. So this is what we are replacing. This axle here has leaked and fallen apart, and this will be the new one going in. Okay, and lastly, when you take out your axle, you want to make sure that this axle seal here is not torn or leaking. This is not leaking. When the axle came out, some fluid will come out, so that's why it looks the way it does. But this is where the axle boot has ripped and there is grease that has flung out everywhere there. Installing the new axle, it comes with a new axle nut, which will require a 32mm socket. If you don't have a 32mm socket and you only have your old axle nut, it's not recommended to use it, but if you don't have it, that's what you got. Installing the axle, these are the splines. That has a locking C-ring here. That's what will clip in, and when you go to install, you want to listen out for that pop. So when you're installing this, you're going to push this in, but you're going to clock it until you line up the teeth with the teeth that are in the transmission there. And from this point, you want to take the axle and you're going to use it as a slide hammer to push it in. And you're listening out for that C-clip to seat itself in. Once you have the axle back in, Everything else is just in reverse. All right, here we have your half-inch impact, half-inch sockets. You will need a 30 millimeter 12 point to remove the axle nut. You need a 22 half-inch to remove the lower strut bolts, 22 millimeter, or you could use your tire iron to remove the lug nuts. You'll need a 14 millimeter 3/8, 10 millimeter 3/8 with a 3-inch extension, caliper hook, 14 millimeter wrench, your ratchet, a 22 millimeter wrench, your slide hammer with a hook, and a 2-pound hammer.